Noob School. All right, welcome back to Noob School, or the Noob Cast as we call it now. I'm here with my friend John McDonald from Fabtech Solutions. John is the founder and CEO, right?
That's right.
Great. And John and I have a friendship that goes back at least 10 years.
Yeah.
10, about 10?
10 to 12.
10 to 12. 10 to 12. I sound like I did something wrong, but 10 to 12. And we met each other in a training class. And by the way, that's a good way to meet people of like mind. We both wanted to improve our sales skills. We both went to a sales class. We met and we became friends. It started a friendship where we help each other. I try to help him, he tries to help me. And you want a lot of that in your business life. But I'm really proud of John. When I first met him, he was just either getting ready to or just went out on his own to start Fabtech. And he'd already worked in fabrication and knew something about it, decided to start his own company, and we would go for these walks around downtown Greenville and talk about what it was like to start a business and how to get clients and all that kind of stuff. Made me feel real good to be the advisor, but just delighted that 10 years later it seems to be working, that he's built a real nice company. And so I'd like to welcome you, John, here and say congratulations for what you've done so far.
Well, John, thank you for having me on. Yeah. And I'm have a little bit of imposter syndrome. So I'm looking at it like this man here, where I thought, man, he has accomplished a lot, is going to walk with me and talk with me. And I think you know now, but it really impacted me.
Good.
Yeah, it really helped me.
Well, I appreciate that. And I felt that way when we were walking and talking, but I really kind of forgot. Over time, I kind of forgot, where's John, what's he up to? Because we both stopped going to that training class. And then when we got together like a month or so ago, went for another walk, and you're telling me all these things you're doing, I was like, man, it makes you feel good.
Good.
The things you're working there.
Well, I'm happy to be here as a sense of affirmation as well, that, when we help people, you want to know that it comes back.
Yeah.
How many times do we help people and they don't do anything with it?
Yeah, that's true. Well, you did a lot with it. So tell us about Fabtech now, what the company looks like, what y'all do, and kind of what do you spend your time on?
Okay, it's a good question, big question. You might have to corral me. I will correct you. I didn't do any fabrication. I didn't.
It sounds good, though.
It sounded good.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Maybe I did, but not in the sense of what helped me start this business. And so I'm going to go macro real quick, and I'll bring this in. I started this business, and I knew nothing about a business. Mm-hmm. When I got out of the Navy, I came to work for a company that was similar to mine. And what we do is we sell and service metal fabricating machinery. And so we're a distributorship. And if you think of it like a car distributorship, they have a service department, parts, and sales. So we've got these departments here. And I went from service. I worked on this metal fabricating machinery. And, a month prior, I was working on F-18s and SH-60s in the Navy on an aircraft carrier. And I was Sailor of the Year, a little pat on the back there. And this company recognized me here in Greenville, and they said, we'd like to come to work for us. I came to work. Can you fix this machine? Sure. Never seen it before. Worked my way through it, fixed it, began to communicate with the customers, learned how to communicate, got into sales. Things happened in that company with the relationship, and I started my own. Mm-hmm. And that's when the real journey started. And I think I answered your question.
So you went to high school around here?
I did not. I went to high school north of Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Pasco County.
And you ended up here after the Navy?
I did.
Okay. And so why'd you go in the Navy?
Also a great question. I lacked direction.
Okay.
And I knew I didn't want to stay in Pasco County. Mm-hmm. And what I was doing then was not congruent with what I wanted to do even back then. Mm-hmm. And so I lacked direction. I followed some friends that were joining the Navy, and I thought I'd get an education and get out of where I was at. And so I left to work for the Navy in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. Okay. So, did you go up to like Chicago, to Great Lakes?
I did. And I can give the
I'm
big
just curious.
story.
My son did the same thing. He went to Great Lakes. And,
He did, and it
Yeah.
was in 2008, right?
I think so.
Because we spoke on that, and
Yeah.
I'd love to get to know your son. I
Yeah.
mean, you touched on it, but he sounds very impressive. So in 2003, I enlisted, and the towers went down, and I was gonna do what I thought was right? And so I did that. I went to Great Lakes in Chicago, and it was cold. Got through boot camp, and I'm going to say this. I've not said this on my podcast. I'm going to tell you because I told you before, but I want to put it out there because I'm now starting to realize, and I've had so many failures, but this failure here I hid for so long. I think I got to look at this camera, and so. I hid this for so long, but I'm realizing that my failures are going to help people, and it's helped me. But I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and I was slotted for an avionics job, and they said you're going to work on electronics. I'm like, yeah, but I want to be a SEAL, and they're like, well, if that doesn't work out, because it doesn't really work out for a lot of people, you've got this schooling. Well, it didn't work out, and it was hard for me to write home because you wrote home.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
and here I am going to go to school.
Yeah.
So then I had 9 months of electronics school after that, and went to Norfolk, got stationed on the Dwight D. Eisenhower CVN 69.
Wow.
And we did one good 9-month deployment, Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom as well. I mixed those up there, but we did time over there, and I remember all that. So I was 5 years.
Is that a big aircraft carrier?
It's a Nimitz class, and it's the largest that they've got. Yes,
It's the largest aircraft carrier.
and there's 5 or 6. I don't keep up with it now,
Yeah.
but there were about 5 or 6 that were that size. It's about 3 football fields long, from what I remember.
Jeez.
Yeah, 6,000 people.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you're working on F-16s?
F-18s.
18s.
ENF, for those who know, and SH-60s, we worked on electronic countermeasures in my shop. And so, the chaff and flare
Yeah.
that fly out
Yeah.
behind the aircraft, and
Yeah.
heat-seeking missiles would go after that or whatever. That's the stuff we worked on. And so I didn't go on the flight deck and do all this, sexy, appealing stuff. I had a jacket on while it was 120 degrees outside. I was in this cold shop with a lock because we had some secret frequencies and things. And so I was in this cold air-conditioned shop and 18 hours a day working, sometimes not, but mostly the Navy guys don't understand this, and your son will. We cleaned most of the time. And so that was a lot of my time.
Wow. And so you learned avionics. Is that right?
Electronics, avionics.
Electronics, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you had the chance to take this job with a fabricating type company, but fabricating sales and service company in Greenville. Took it and then eventually started your own shop.
Right.
That's about where we met.
Yes.
And you went to that class because you wanted to learn sales, is that right?
I went to that class about a year before I started Fabtech, and I was in sales. And for whatever reason, my numbers were not as good, and so this was recommended. That training was recommended by my employer, and so I had to have skin in the game, and so I paid some money and I went to training, and man, I've met a lot of folks in there, and it's interesting being part of a network like that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, School. We talked about it just a minute ago, to the audience, but that is a good way because people can say, well, you got to know people to make things happen. They can make excuses, or you can go join some of these networks. You can go to the training class. You can join Toastmasters. There's lots of you meet these like-minded people that want to be players, right? That's why you're there. And start doing things together.
John, it's never been easier. I mean, if you think about, and I'm not that old, but if I just talked about writing letters.
Yeah.
Think about all the social media. Every which way you can learn, and personal development, and there's books, and you can surround yourself with, other individuals. there's just, there's no more excuses.
No excuses. That's right. Unless you want to be wimpy about it, then you can make all the excuses you want.
You can call it whatever you want.
That's
yeah.
right. So, how many customers do you have now?
Currently, if we're going to define customers, folks that we've exchanged money for service or product, over the past 9 years, we've got a database of 4,000. We are, I could speak on this because I just looked at it from a service perspective. We're invoicing about 40 to 50 projects a month with service, and our sales are up 145% this year from last year, year to date.
Yeah. So for the people watching, I mean, when I met you, you were still working at this other company and thinking about doing this. And now we fast forward, because it's almost good that we didn't talk for so long, because I'm seeing exactly 10 years later, what's it look like? And you've done so much. I mean, you got your own business, you got 50 paying customers a month, a database of 4,000, a team, and you've done a few other things, I think. You've become a champion bodybuilder. Because when I met you, you were a skinny little guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And you, all of us, I mean, we're not going to make you take your shirt off here, but I mean, you've won some contests and stuff, right?
Yeah, I've done pretty well at it.
Yeah.
I've done pretty well at that.
And how did you get into that, and why did you do it?
Interesting. The day that I quit working for my previous employer, I went back to working out because it felt good. When I was in sales, it was, you don't have time for a gym. Literally, the man said, you don't have time for the gym. You need to be selling. And because we were close and I wanted to work out more, and I used to work out a lot. So the day I quit, it was almost a rebellion thing. I went to the gym and I started working out, and it felt good. And I started going every day, and it never stopped. And now I cannot not work out. And there's this other crazy thing about me, that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to whole ass it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to half ass it. And I, get more extreme and more extreme. And then you go to your friend's bodybuilding show, and, he's up there, and you're like, I can beat him. And so next thing you know, and I'm in a Speedo.
Yeah.
And I'm on stage, and I thought I'd never do that, John. And now it's turned more into personal development, how bodybuilding affects me physically and mentally. When I'm dieting and I'm disciplined in that area, I'm so much better as a human being in other areas. And so it just feeds into the entire personal development of being a better human.
And what is your ideal diet right now?
All right, good question. And I can tell you what it is here today. And you can look at it like macros, or you can look at it what the food looks like. And so I will have, first thing in the morning, I will drink my water. I will have a cup of oats and some protein powder in those oats with blueberries and strawberries. 2-3 hours later, I'll have 1 cup of rice with 6 ounces of chicken. A few hours later, ground beef or possum, right? Ground beef with a cup of rice. Little inside joke nobody's going to get, but and so basically it's a good serving of protein with some carbs, healthy fats, and hopefully get enough fiber in that situation. And so you have 5 or 6 of those meals a day.
And so you're looking to keep feeding the muscles on a regular basis. Is that the idea, to make them grow?
That's it. So the protein feeds the muscle, and the carbs give you the energy to be able to do
And if
so.
you were going to lean down before a competition, what would you take out of that diet?
Great question. Carbs are coming down, especially
Oats.
sugar and
Oats.
processed. Everything gets limited down. Oats include, yes, oats. Everything gets leaned way down. You ask for a reason.
Well, I'm always
Getting
trying.
ready?
I'm always looking for ideas from people in anything that they're experts at, because it might help me somehow. And so, just trying to always tweak my diet. I eat mostly, protein, and I would say healthy carbs, a little bit of fat.
Wow. I got to be honest. I get a little uncomfortable hearing when you tell me about myself, and you called me an expert just now, and there's a complex there. I've got that imposter syndrome, but somebody told me this. My coach, I think, he said the diet that works best is the one you follow. And so there's so many good diets.
I think the imposter syndrome is a good subject to talk about for a minute because you think about it logically. Like I can be logical about you, and you could probably be logical about me, but it's hard to be logical about ourselves, right? But you are, a successful bodybuilder, at least in this region, winning contests and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you're doing very well. And so your thoughts on diet I would consider would be at expert level. And, when it's natural for people to have the imposter syndrome and think, well, I don't know what I know about it. I don't know as much as this guy knows. And I think that the solution, and even people who are performers, famous people, I think they all have it. You just have to say, okay, that's just this little a person over here in my brain who's just saying, okay, now I'm going to be a wimp about this, and that I'm the imposter syndrome person.
That's your ego.
And
right?
to hear it and say, oh, I know what that is, I'm just going to ignore it. I know it's there. I know why they're saying it because it's normal, but I'm going to ignore it. You got to recognize where it's coming from.
Yes. And even though we know that, and that's a great point, and I love it. I'm just thinking, why is it that I will battle with that, even though we know it? And so that's my ego and my history of growing up on a dirt road in a single wide trailer with 4 brothers and sisters, with my dad raising us. You don't deserve this. You can't do nothing. You're not going to be nothing. Yeah. And so all those negative affirmations are back here, and my ego, I call him Johnald, is saying these things. Yes, we name our ego.
Yeah.
The Johnald is back here saying you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And to hear you say that it feels good.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I have to absolutely live up to that.
Well, do you remember the really big guy in our class named Patrick? Remember Patrick?
Patrick Gardner.
Yeah, Patrick Gardner.
Yep.
He's the one who told me about that. I think his is called Cindy.
It is absolutely Cindy.
Yeah, and he says
I know that for a fact.
And he says I walk and I'm going to call on $1 million deal, and Cindy goes, "Don't go in there. You're not ready, and they're not going to like you, and you got the wrong vest on, or whatever is going through his head." And he goes, it's Cindy talking. I'm going to go in there anyway. You can see Patrick just walking in there anyway, And so I think the more times you do it,
yes,
that you recognize it, ignore it, do it anyway. Like the 14th time you do it, 15th time's pretty easy.
The 15th. I got to do things 9 or 10 times before I realize it's bad for me. And now I've been doing this for years. But Patrick actually taught me about the ego and naming it, recognizing it, and it allows me to detach from that. But it's work in progress. As I sit here, I'm being fluid with you. Like that. Those things are very. Those things you said about me, it's like hard to hear.
Well, I'll keep saying them. Talk to me about the future of your business. What would you like to see happen, Fabtech, over the next 3 years?
Fabtech Solutions over the next 3 years. I would like to, in the next 3 years, I would like to be in at least by the Mississippi River. And why do I say that geographically? Well, we're only as good as what we can service. And as we're growing this team and hiring key people, it seems like the best way to do that is to grow from here on out. And so I've tried to hire people in Florida. I tried to hire people in Virginia. And what happens is the culture is not there because we're not close. We've got to do conference calls. I've got to cast vision over the phone or a video, and so it's very difficult, especially the nature of our business from the service standpoint. Is these technicians are going to go out every day from their home with their truck, with our truck, and they're going to fix things. And so how do I inspire how do I grow them? How do we train them? And so, we're putting up a 5,000 square foot facility here now with living quarters, so I can fly people in and onboard them. So creating this, and it's. You asked me in 3 years, and I've got my time horizon looks further than that, right? 10 years and all that. And why? Well, because I understand this is going to take a long time, and I'm just getting started. We're in business 9 years, John, and I'm just figuring out some things. And I'm just like, why didn't I learn this, back then?
Yeah.
But putting the right people in places, having the right systems and processes. In 3 years, we should be, I would say right now, we're on track to do 4 million if we're going to talk revenue. People talk about growth in different ways, personnel growth. I look at the revenue like that. But we're on track to do 4 million this year. I expect to be in 3 years at 30 million. And from there, I'd like to take over the nation. I believe that we can take over the nation. I don't know how many people that's going to take yet.
Yeah.
But at some point, we will be there.
So that 4 million, does that come all from service work?
It does not. That's a great question. A big issue, an obstacle is I've got 3 businesses in one business, and they need to be ran differently. So the service manager's got to run the service department this way, and that revenue looks like this, and this is consistent, and this happens no matter what the economy's doing. And then sales is different, right? So people buy capital machinery. This is called capital machinery, capital equipment. They're spending a lot of tax money towards the end of the year. And so our strongest quarters are 3rd and 4th. And so it's hard to grow them the same way. And it's hard to, and I forgot about parts. And so parts is almost like we're reactory. We're very reactory when it comes to things like that, and making these all fire off at the same, on 8 cylinders, as you would say, is my task right now. And so if I would give it ratios, I would say service is 40% of the business. Sales would be 60 as far as revenue goes. And parts is, would be, I'm not going to math right now, guys. So this is, you could do that.
We can make up whatever we want.
Yeah. But I will say this, with that point, on our business card, our mantra is service dot then sales. Why? Well, when I first started the company, I had $5,000 in bills the next month, and I had $4,000 in my savings. And white knuckled. I've never been physically sick from stress, but I remember doing this, and a good friend of mine said to me, well, John, he said, take your daughter, I just got custody of her, take her and sit her on the bed and tell her, Daddy can't send you to private school anymore because he can't make those 10 cold calls. Yeah, he got me.
Got you good.
He got me. This is where ego works for you, right?
Yeah.
And so ego's a double-edged sword, but it definitely helped me here. I operate on the dark side. I got up, I made 20 phone calls, and then so service was a net 30 terms business, and it still is.
Yeah.
And so I was able to generate, I needed $3,000 to pay what I needed to pay for. And that's how it started rolling. And I thought to myself, this defense, this mindset is how I'm going to run my business. And with that, it's been very fruitful, even with the dips in the economy. And so service first.
I was just curious as how the revenue broke down.
It
sounds like it's almost 50-50 service parts and sales. Roughly.
I get pulled because I can crack a $500,000 deal over here in sales that I've worked for months, and then I can then I'm like, oh, I need more salespeople, and I spend time over here. Meanwhile, service is just constantly doing this. I'm like, oh, I need more service guys, and so those big chunks are sexy money. It's like, oh, this is great, but what started my company, what grew my company, needs to be managed, and I can't forget that. I get pulled.
And then are you buying these machines from a company? You're distributing for them?
Absolutely. Okay. So like I say, distributorship, we're a middleman, if people say that, and we're a servicing dealer. So yes, we're in the middle of multiple vendors. Well,
another thing I was proud of you when I got my update from you a month or so ago was that you managed to procure a big old adventure farm. How many acres is it?
We've got 52 acres.
52 acres. And where is it? What direction?
So this is Fountain Inn.
Fountain Inn,
It's
okay.
about 30 minutes from here.
Okay, Fountain Inn. And you have the world's largest slip and slide?
It was up there. I don't know if it's been taken down. Social media likes to pull it down and say that it's a dangerous act. I guess, getting too much air is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to see, we have a little alter ego thing we do on TikTok sometimes. It's you go to John McDonald Jr., right, on TikTok?
John McDonald Jr., 99.
99. Yeah, and you can see some of our antics, but we've had some fun since we reunited about a month ago.
You would see a side of John you would never imagine. You definitely got to see it.
That's right. Flipper Kinlaw.
Old Flipper.
Yeah, but I'm happy that you seem to be, like from when I met you, when you were a little bit unsure about what was happening, what you were doing, you seem to be designing a life just like you want it. You're building a business that you enjoy. You're putting the team together you like. You've got the farm. You've got a real important, healthy, kind of health-oriented hobby. A lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah, that ego's talking a little bit here now. Yeah, I'm creating a life that I enjoy.
Yeah, that's the idea, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, I think that the people I know that are, let's just call them happy, successful people, and I don't mean just making money, I mean life successful, they're always saying, I'm grateful for where I am, but I would always like to angle to make it better. How can I make it better? How can I make the farm more interesting? How can I make the truck bigger? How can I, get double the size of my business, right? You're always thinking to do that while being happy where you are.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if there was a question attached to it.
I'm just making statements now.
It's a beautiful statement. So with that, I'll dig into that a little bit.
Sure.
Being happy. And I can speak to this. I chased the dollar. I'll admit, and like I was talking about failing Navy SEAL tryouts and all that, I can say this now. I've had way more failures than I could even imagine, and they're embarrassing at times. And now I'm going to lean into them, John. Yeah. And it's when I've listened, you've got 80 something podcasts. Mm-hmm. I'm probably at 60 right now.
Nice.
And I'm watching these guys, and one guy's 8th degree black belt. This guy is, building this huge venue here, and I'm looking at this like, this is amazing. These guys are doing amazing things, yeah. And I don't hear a lot of them falling on their face. And I think about my own life, and Donald's back here saying, John, you came from a trailer. Mm-hmm. John, you've been divorced twice. John, you've done this in business, mm-hmm. and this and this and this. And I've lost a lot of money in business. I've done a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. My happiness is measured, and I'm going to ask you this now, but how do you measure, I'm going to answer this first, and then you can, how do you measure your happiness and success? And I'm looking at and I think about this, and I measure it now, not by the dollar, but by the times I can, it sounds cliche, but by the happiness, and by the times I can smile, mm-hmm. and know that my daughter's safe and going to be self-sufficient, and I know your kids are doing well, and that's got to be really strong for you. But I look at all the folks that I'm helping, and the more that I help, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Knowing who I am personally now, rather than chasing that dollar, has helped me feel like I know what success is now more than ever. And so those failures mean nothing to me. The divorces I've learned from. The business issues I've learned from. And so I can speak on those things knowing who I am now.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I think, I would challenge you on one thing. And you used the word failure a couple of times. Like, when you said failure at becoming a Navy SEAL, well, you lasted like 7 weeks into the program. And that's not even counting what you had to do to make it into the program to begin with. So I wouldn't refer to it as a failure. I mean, I would say, I went much further than most people down this really difficult path. It ended up doing something different. It made me stronger. I learned a lot about myself, and I've been in the cold Pacific and my teeth chattered and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I would challenge you, be very careful what words you use, because your brain believes the word.
It's there. It's in that subconscious, and it comes out.
Yeah.
I'm with you, and
I mean, if you said, I failed at this first business I tried, I would say, no, I learned from that first business. It cost me $25,000 to learn these 3 lessons.
I'll expand further. If I was to say I'm going to climb Mount Everest and I didn't make it,
Yeah.
one, I wouldn't quit, but I would be afraid to tell people that I only made it halfway.
Yeah.
And so that's what I look at when this goes on. I'm not where I want to be in business. I'm not where I want to be in my relationships. I'm not where I want to be spiritually. And so it can be hard to talk about them when you're in that struggle now.
Yeah. Well, so I think what you got to do is you got to identify all the key areas in your life. And let's just say the business, the farm, the financial security, my personal skill set in business, my relationships, my family, whatever those 7 or 8 things are, spiritual. I like to give them a 1 to 10. Just do like a wheel. Just do a 1 to 10 and say, if let's just say one of them is drinking. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great and 1 being horrible, we're a 1. And everything else we're like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
I would advise that person to say, we got to work on the drinking, because drinking could really screw up the rest of them, right?
Yes.
So you kind of look at what's low and say, what can I do? Not to fix it this afternoon, but to start a process to push this one a little bit higher, and just try to constantly keep jiggering these numbers up a little bit.
John, this is great advice, and it gives me like literal chills.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is why I go on walks with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this: I had a conversation with a team member this morning about 5 areas in our life that I was journaling, and I'm thinking, where am I lacking? And then I started measuring these things in order: spiritual, physical, mental and emotional, my relationships, and professional. And I started looking at them at 1 to 10. How do I feel? My physical, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Professionally, I kind of feel 1 to 10. And then these other things like spiritual, why do I not feel that way? And I have discipline and accountability in those other areas. Right. And in spirituality and in these other areas, I'm like, well, who's my mentor there? Who are the people I'm surrounding myself there? Because I hang out with other bodybuilders. I hang out with other business folks that are doing big things. Who am I hanging out? Am I hanging out with other folks I want to be like in the spiritual world? The answer is no. And so I'm like, that's what I need to do. And so the 1 to 10 thing, man, like,
yeah, just look at
resonated.
Look at it once a week, once a month, whatever. See if you got to make any adjustments. But when you see one that's low, put a plan in place.
Yes.
The plan could be hire a therapist every other week, if it was something to do with that. Or it could be hire a financial advisor. Or it could be go to a Dave Ramsey seminar. But you put an action down to try to attack that number.
That's right.
And as one number rises, inevitably the other ones rise as well.
That's right.
Because it's easier to deal with everything in your life.
And you reverse engineer it. How did I get here?
Right.
Better mentors, training, all those things.
Right. So I think we fixed that one.
Done. I'm good.
Love it. Okay.
Ready to go?
No, tell me, I want to talk about interviewing for a minute. When you're interviewing your people, salespeople or service technicians, what are some interview do's and don'ts for you?
The do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 things I look for an employee, and that's behavior and attitude. And if they have those 2 things, the technical aspect, there are some areas that they have to hit a minimal standard.
Yeah.
And so for a service technician, it would be they know how to use a multimeter. They can measure electricity mechanically. I ask them things like, what's the furthest repair you've made on your vehicle? And if the man says, I rebuilt my automatic transmission on my F350, and he's got the behavior and the attitude, I got you. Like, I know where you're at.
Yeah.
So asking these questions, not just where they've been in the industry, because the facts are, we're not going to get a lot of folks from the industry. This isn't a huge industry. So we would have to poach. We would have to pull people from, and that's not great for a lot of reasons. People have head trash. People have reasons, they're not going to leave their job.
Yeah.
So that's for the service technicians. And with sales, again, behavior, attitude, we can teach the rest.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Couple more questions. This has been great. Tell us your favorite movie of all time.
Oh, easy. Step Brothers.
Step Brothers. That's
Step Brothers.
great.
You probably got, I'll give you a little more than that. You've got A Few Good Men, and then you got Anchorman. I mean, these are classics, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are fantastic. Favorite book?
Favorite book. Ooh, that's, I'll give you my favorite book right now. And then it goes in time frames for me. Right now, it is Buy Your Time Back by Dan Martell.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, I fell in love with this book. I'm on my second go around on that. In the beginning, it was E-Myth. And in between there, it's been all the books on EOS from Gino Wickman.
Okay. Yeah, Martell's good. That's for sure. And then, finally, your favorite word.
Ooh, yeah. Hope.
Hope. I love it.
Hope. If you don't have hope,
I
you
love
don't
it.
have anything.
I love it. That's great. Well, do you want to promote anything in your world? Promote Fabtech or anything you're working on?
Here's what I'll say. John has given back to me in ways that he cannot comprehend yet. And my gratitude for this, for him and this friendship, means so much to me. And so I want to give back. And there are some aspects of my life that apparently I'm an expert at. If there's any young men, and I love to mentor young men, and I do as much as I possibly can. And so my ask is that if you are struggling with whatever, any area, if you want to know about your diet, bodybuilding, I'll help you. Find me on Instagram or get a hold of John. If you want to learn about how to start your own business from zero, from nothing, get a hold of me. Marriages, I don't know. I've been divorced twice. We're not there yet, folks. So, raising a daughter, I got custody when she was 4 years old, and there's a lot of daddy moments that I can help with. Growing a team, that's something I'm working on now. So my ask is this, my promotion is this. If you are struggling with any of this, do not hesitate to contact John and get a hold of me, because I want to help you. And I'm not charging you anything. I'll do as much as I can, and you have to do the rest. But I'm putting myself out there to give back.
All right, good. Well, thank you for that, and thanks for being on the Noobcast today. We appreciate you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, McDonald.
Yeah, man.
Yes.